Hey everybody, Socialism on Roids here. Long time no see. So yesterday there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and the the gunman was identified later as a Republican. Yeah, the now dead assailant was identified as a registered Republican. I shouldn't be laughing, but given how many alt right accounts I've been seeing on social media, how many hardline far right reactionaries have been pushing this idea that that the gunman was part of Antifa, or that the gunman was a part of some Democrat group or whatever. Just oh, back in 2021, he was in Portland, Oregon, being a violent Antifa thug. Ooh. Okay. He's 20 years old now, so he was either 17 or 16 back in 2021 and in Portland. Um, uh, but hey, these people, they'll twist themselves into knots so that they can blame their opposition for this. Donald Trump, he's gonna do it. I see a lot of people, a lot of content creators pushing this idea that, oh, this gave Donald Trump the election. He has the sympathy vote. He has the sympathy vote now. They've all but ensured that he's going to get the sympathy vote. Now, I have to differ with these people. Many of these people who are pushing this whole "he's got the sympathy vote" thing, they're the kinds of people who have recently gone full on doomer. Even some of these people who were hardline vote blue no matter who types back in 2020 recently went. Let me scoot up a bit here. Uh, have recently jumped on the whole doomer bandwagon because of Biden's abysmal performance in the presidential debates. But I know I'm a little zonked out right now. What many of these people are overlooking is that the vast majority of Americans going into this next election, they've already made up their mind who they're going to vote for. Hell, the vast majority of Americans voting in this next election are the same people who voted in 2020. This isn't going to move the needle. Biden's abysmal performance, it may have caused a slight dip in his approval rating for a short time, but his approval rating is ticking back up again, and in a recent poll, he outpolled Donald Trump again by only 2 points, but still, uh, his poll numbers are stabilizing again. Likewise, there's the releasing of the revelations that were in the Epstein documents, showcasing that Donald Trump did some pretty horrible things, some pretty fucking disgusting things that would end literally anyone else's career. Things that involved a 13-year-old girl. There's Project 2025. More people are now aware of Project 2025 and what's being pushed by Donald Trump's former employees at the Heritage Foundation. And there's the fact that Donald Trump has gone on record praising the people behind Project 2025, even though he's trying to distance himself from these people at the Heritage Foundation. But despite all this, people need to realize that this Donald Trump is not going to get the kind of sympathy vote bump that people think he will, or at least I don't think he will. There are just too many people who've already made up their minds about how they're going to vote. There are very, very few fence sitters at this point. And this doesn't even get into people actually remembering what happened on January 6th. And I think another lefty YouTuber, Westside Tyler, brought it up recently, that a lot of these people with left-leaning views, they've largely just tuned out for the past few years. They've gone to brunch. They're not paying attention to what's going on. As far as they're concerned, there's a Democrat in the White House, and they just don't care. At least not until the next election season. Then there's also the added element of people who don't like, a lot of the people who didn't like Biden still voted for him. They voted for him to stop Donald Trump more than they did because they cared about Biden. Now I voted for Howie Hawkins in 2020 as a sort of as a protest vote for the shenanigans that happened in Iowa, in the Iowa Democratic primaries, but since then, I've moved away from the Green Party because of, not just because of the way they treated their own candidate, but because of how they refused to do anything about the far right weaponizing them in close elections. Then there's the issue of Sirstein Sinema being a former Green who went on to basically be the best ally that the Republicans in the Senate could have ever had. So personally, I think the right-wing money matrix and the Charlie Kirks of the world have some kind of deal with the Greens, especially given the revelations that came out back in early 2020 about Rally Forge. But I digress. But going back to the subject matter of the video. Trump, this event's not going to change that much. I mean, if you haven't already decided who you're voting for or whether you're even voting at all, then you just haven't been paying attention, or you're a political neophyte who's, just, I just don't see it. It's kind of hard to actually get a sympathy vote for somebody who has gone on record cheerleading for the harm of his political opposition, whose entire campaign is centered around getting revenge because someone told him no. The only people who are going to sympathize with Donald Trump after this are a bunch of rednecks who never really got over Lyndon Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act and have looked for new excuses to vote Republican ever since. Now, these people and the suburbanites who are like descendants of white flight, who never really got out of that mindset, those are effectively the two major camps of people that I can see being affected by this. But again, these are people who, for the most part, were going to vote for Donald Trump regardless. They were going to show up for him. And even if the assassination attempt hadn't happened, again, I have to put this out here. The assailant was a Republican, registered Republican. So they can't blame the left for this one. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry. You don't get sympathy from people when you're trying to take away their rights. And to those people who say, "Oh, Matthew, that's so cruel. Oh, if you look into the abyss, you'd best do well to take heed, or you might become part of the abyss." Well, the whole "they go low, we go high" thing hasn't exactly worked out very well for us. They're still going to lie about us. They're still going to make up shit in their little QAnon circles, their little alt right groups on 4chan, and their little hidden groups on Facebook and on Twitter. They're still going to keep pushing bullshit. They're gonna push all kinds of conspiracies in their own little online enclaves, their own bubbles, and their own online bubbles, and the corporate media. They missed the ratings they had from when Donald Trump was in office the first time around, because him being in office and him doing something new and horrible and despicable every fucking day, or creating some new outrage every day, allowed them to keep their ratings up. He was a ratings gold mine. Then there's also the issue of CNN being bought out by a hardline billionaire Trump mega donor in the last couple of years. I think it was this last year, but the landscape has changed a lot, but at the same time, it hasn't changed much at all. The vast majority of people who say, "Oh, this has emboldened me to vote for Trump. Oh, I'll come out for him," they were going to do it anyway. So don't get your panties in a twist. I say ignore the doomers. These people, they've been losing their shit ever since, well, forever. And there are a lot of people who are just missing the forest for the trees. This election cycle hasn't really moved the needle that much. Not really. Again, the people who voted for Biden back in 2020, a good number of them, and by good number I mean most of them, voted for him just so they could stop Donald Trump from eroding our rights any further. And with the recent Supreme Court ruling on everyone's minds, or at least until it's overshadowed by this new series of events, and the president being given immunity for anything that he deems an official act, and with Clarence Thomas, uh, his ethics violations being brought front and center, you'll notice he's been conspicuously absent lately. There's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes, and I think, like I said before, Donald Trump. I don't really see him getting a sympathy vote. No. Internet searches for information on Project 2025 have outpaced internet searches for information on Taylor Swift. Yeah. Nobody's going to sympathize with someone who's out to get them. No one's going to sympathize with someone who tried to overthrow the country. No one's the only people who are going to be pissed off by this are people who are already pissed off and want to look for an excuse to get more pissed off. This will galvanize his base, but that's the thing. They are his base. You need more than just your base in these hardline rural Republican bastions, gerrymandering or no, to win at the national level. And something tells me that Clarence Thomas and Alito, they're not going to be in there much longer. Hell, John Roberts. I don't remember, but I think he's also involved in a scandal as well. The entire Republican money matrix and their relationship to the John Birch Society and all these conservative justices is just being brought to the to the forefront. It's again, it's kind of hard to make the case that Donald Trump could get sympathy from this when both he and his supporters have never shown any real sympathy towards anybody, towards anyone they consider outside the ideal, quote unquote, degenerate or whatever these alt right people are calling us nowadays. It's just, I mean, these are the people who cheered on the killing of two people and the injuring of one other by Kyle Rittenhouse. These are the same people who cheered on the death of Heather Heyer and the injuries of 19 others at the infamous 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. These are people who have a long history of calling for violence and cheering on violence against others. People forget that those fat jolly old rednecks that killed Audrey, conservatives were doing everything they could to thread the needle on them and support them any way they could. It just they were cheering those motherfuckers on at every turn. Yeah. These people, they know they're full of shit as a Christmas turkey. They know they don't mean a damn thing of what they know they're coming at this in bad faith. Trump supporters know that they are lying when they just I mean, as much as I don't like Nancy Pelosi, as much as I see her as part of the problem with the Democratic Party, um, I still got to say, her husband, one of Trump's supporters, tried to bash his head in with a hammer. He was assaulted with a hammer, and Trump supporters cheered that shit on. Again, these people, I don't know whether they're just saying, whether they're just repeating the "when they go low, we go high" because they think it's obligatory at this point. But no, I I don't feel sympathy. Sorry, can't sympathize for someone who's never had sympathy for anyone else in his life. I can't feel sympathy for someone who has destroyed the lives of so many people. I can't feel sympathy for someone who actively takes advantage of his base to pay his legal fees. I can't feel sympathy for someone like him. I can't feel sympathy for someone who, when confronted with a mass shooting that took out a class full of eighth graders, of third graders, who said something akin to "get over it" to the nation. Yeah, Donald Trump, no sympathy here, none whatsoever. What's the point? He's beyond it at this. He is beyond sympathy. You can't sympathize for him unless you actually support what he intends to do to everyone else. And for the most part, the people who sympathize with him are folks who've supported him for no other reason than the fact that he causes problems for their opposition, or that he makes their liberals mad, or whatever. It's the only reason they ever supported him, because they just wanted to get back at liberals, to one up the liberals, to hurt people on the left, to hurt leftists, to do damage to anyone who isn't part of their neo-Confederate grapes of wrath reject little subculture stuck between the cities. Again, Trump supporters, right wingers, they don't have beliefs, they have beefs. And Oh yeah, they're going to look for every way they can to finesse this into something that will justify their hatred for us. Not that they need anything to justify it. So, that's all I really have to say on the matter. That's But before I end this, I recently moved. Things are getting a little too expensive in my hometown. The real estate market, all the development in downtown Auburn has caused the price of rent to skyrocket. Oh yeah, I got these little blotches forming on the side of my face here. I've been out in the sun so much that it's starting to discolor my skin. All right, peace out.